Welcome back to NostalgiaCast. I'm Darren Lundberg.
And I'm Johnny Craddock.
And today we'll be covering Twister from 1996, directed by Jan De Bont, starring Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, Jamie Gertz, is that how you pronounce your name? Carrie Elways, Lois Smith, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Johnny, we wanted to welcome back the lovely and wonderful, the Lady Wan. It's been a while. But
that's right.
So again, I'm going to alter this. Like last time I defined you by your Twitter profile, but you're no longer on Twitter. So we'll call you an avid conversationalist, a hat enthusiast, and a podcaster. I really like that. So how are you doing? It's been so long.
I know it's been forever, but I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here to podcast again.
Well, man, I appreciate you so much. I know that we're kind of lost touch in you because of Twitter's like just gone to
dumpster fire.
And so everybody just kind of jumped ship, right? And so everybody's gone to, and you've told me that you're doing vacationing and you're just relaxing and you're kind of getting away from the podcasting kind of business. And I understand that. That's fine. But I really appreciate you contact you on this. I didn't expect you to say yes because I thought you were just, I'm too happy being young and free, right? It's like, so again, your time is important and we appreciate it. Being the co-host of ScreenRun, and we've talked about you and Chris Scalzo plenty of times before. Can you just let us know like what you've been up to and why you kind of stepped away from the podcasting game and why you thought it would be a good idea to join NostalgiaCast?
Yeah, well, I mean, Chris and I, we're on hiatus until we have like any kind of decision to make. But that's the good thing about having seasons, right? Is you can just take a break for as long as you want. Like British TV shows will just take a break for like 10 years and then they'll come back for a Christmas special. So like never count us out. But yeah, we do season by season. It's all still out there to listen to. We did a season on Kevin Smith, a season on John Carpenter, a season of the Alien films, a season of Body Snatcher movies. So the last thing we were going to circle back to was the Alien Earth TV show. And we didn't do it because I don't know if anybody watched that show. Strong start and then end of review.
Right.
I didn't. Strong start though. Strong start.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so maybe we'll come back for a Christmas special in 10 years. Who knows?
Okay. Well, that is nice being able to take breaks. I'm like me and Johnny, we took like a 3-year break when we first started because we just, I don't know why we did that. It's crazy.
No, because I moved. That's what happened.
You moved. Everything just is in turmoil. So we kind of just, everything is just crazy. So again, thank you so much for this. And I know that we talked about Independence Day and Twister either with Jason from Binge Movies or on our Men in Black episode. And so that's why I reached out. It's like, okay, I obviously talked to her. I miss her laugh. I miss her insight. And so let's talk about one of these. And you picked Twister. If you could explain to us why Twister? I think maybe I conflated it, but I gave you the choice of Independence Day, Twister, and Mission Impossible. And you're like, oh, please let's do Independence Day or Twister because I know those. But why did you decide that Twister was the one that you wanted to cover?
I have such an affinity for this film by way of the ride at Universal Studios. Like that was, I had honestly been on that ride probably a dozen times before I ever saw the movie. Like I just knew the highlights of it and I loved it so much. My family had season or annual passes to Universal Studios back in the day. And this ride was new then. It opened in 1998.
Okay.
And oh my God, I was obsessed with it. Like it was so fun. We always had to do it. Like it was right at the main kind of opening of the park. Once you got past what was at the time Hanna-Barbera. So like every time we're like, Twister? Yes, we're all doing Twister. And I just like all of it. We like had it memorized as a family, basically. So I have such a soft spot for this movie because of Universal Studios.
Just because of the ride. I don't think I've ever ridden that. I know what it is. Maybe it's just Johnny. What about you? Have you been to Universal Studios since they've had the Twister ride?
Yeah, I went there after we last talked to her, and I did the Men in Black ride.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So I think it's funny that it's because this ride you also enjoy. So that's cool. But no, I didn't see that ride there. We didn't see it. We didn't go on it. I'm not sure how we missed
it's now Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, maybe that's why I didn't. Okay.
They phased it out in 2015.
So not as exciting.
I mean, I've never gone on Race Through New York out of protest because I'm angry that it's not Twister Ride It Out anymore. Because that was that's what Universal Studios was like that back in its like glory days. It was Universal Studios ride the movies. That was the tagline of the park. I'm sorry. Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon isn't riding the movies.
Yeah.
So out of protest, I won't do it. I'm trying to figure out when exactly I finally saw the whole movie for the first time. It's like, it's not super clear to me, but it is one of those movies that I feel like was on cable for a while. Like it would just kind of like drop in on TNT regularly. And it was like flipping through the channels. If it's on, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Like always. Like it is, there is always a good entrance point in that movie. Like you could turn it on literally at any point in the film, and there's not going to be more than like 2 or 3 minutes before something exciting happens. It's just, it's nonstop. And I love that. I love that about it.
Okay. So you didn't see it in the theater then? You saw it basically
no,
at home.
I didn't. I think I probably would have been afraid of it in the theater. Like I would have been like 10 when it came out. And I think like the especially like the opening scene, I'm still worried about the dog. Like I think I would have like really been like afraid of the storm at that age.
Right. Well, you did say during the Men in Black episode that your mom sat you in the theater and you were just kind of, even the beginning with Mikey, I believe, right?
Yeah, it freaked me out.
What was it like?
Terrified.
Yeah, your brain wasn't even ready for that yet. So I can't imagine what Twister would have been like for you.
No, I genuinely probably would have been so scared, especially at that point, having just moved to Florida where like tornadoes were an actual threat.
Yeah.
I definitely would have been afraid of that for sure.
Tornadoes, hurricanes, big bugs, just a lot of stuff. Well,
just,
Johnny, I know
everything's trying to kill you.
Johnny and I saw this in a theater together, but I don't know if I think I have one maybe memory of it. But Johnny, what do you remember about seeing Twister in the theater?
I remember we were looking forward to it. It was a big deal. I remember it was fun and exciting, but I remember like somewhere in the middle of the movie, I turned to you and I said, I could do that. Like, watching Bill Paxton and I was like, because we were actors, you know? So I was like, I could do that.
Oh, acting, not storm chasing.
Yeah. Like, how come I'm not doing that? I should be doing that. And so I kind of like, I don't know. I just remember like saying that to you, and you kind of like look at me like, okay, go do it then.
Why are you telling me this? Right.
Yeah.
Well, my main memory, I remember it was fun watching the theaters. This is one of those, like I said, it's a ride. This is like you said, Lady Wan, the ride is a ride based on, it's all very circular. But my favorite memory, Johnny, is you getting a kick out of two rows in front of us, Lady Wan. There was a girl, they were on a date, and she was flipping out, like so scared doing everything. And Johnny, you were laughing so hard. You were like, watch her. And you kept poking me, and she would do these things where she would like just jump and squeal. And that's what I got a kick out of. Like, oh, that's pretty funny that Johnny's noticing that. But so the thing with Twister though, is it's very, my memory though, because Lady Wan, we talked about in our previous episode, Sling Blade. This 96 was the year of the indie, right? And so it wasn't really, when you look at the Oscars, the blockbusters were taking second seat, right? Playing second fiddle. Jerry Maguire was the only major blockbuster, and it was all the independent English Patient, Fargo, Shine, all that stuff. But even though I have vivid memories of those indie movies, I have very vivid memories of that summer watching these three movies in particular, and maybe Eraser with Schwarzenegger. That was the other one. But very vivid memories of sitting in the theater and being kind of, pardon the pun, but being swept away or, by this movie. But just to get you back in the habit, I don't know if you can guess from this that I'm trying to get you back in the habit of doing podcasting, but always in an episode of ScreenRun, you would give these great kind of histories of the movie. And again, I did ask you to do some homework. It's never a free ride here in NostalgiaCast, but if you could tell us a history of Twister, and then we'll go into talking about the movie itself.
Yeah. So this was actually, as much as I am like weirdly obsessed with this movie, I had never like looked into the history of it and like how it came to be. Like I just was like, I know it backwards, forwards, inside out. And so this was my first time looking into it. And I was fascinated to learn that the pitch for this movie was not a script like most movies are. It was some CGI of a truck getting a tree smashed through the window from a tornado. That they were like, look what we can do. And that was the pitch. And the studio was like, that's a great idea. Now build a story around it. So it was truly like, just, we can do something really cool with CGI and let's build everything else around it. So that was the original idea. Spielberg was actually going to direct originally because this was through Amblin. So he was going to do it. Then there were talks of James Cameron, Tim Burton, Robert Zemeckis, like all kinds of people were talked about before Jan De Bont quit Godzilla and then got this gig. So if he hadn't gotten furious on working on Godzilla, we might not have had him directing this. But so he was the director. And then the story itself was written by Anne Marie Martin and Michael Crichton, husband and wife as a writing duo. They were married from 1987 to 2003. And everyone obviously knows Michael Crichton, but Anne Marie was also an actress before becoming a writer. And then after her writing career, she became an accomplished equestrian. So good for her. They were paid $2.5 million for the screenplay. And the inspiration was part PBS documentary about storm chasers and part His Girl Friday. And that is what they did. And that is literally what they did. They did it.
Yeah.
So I think they did a tremendous job. They were like really kind of hit on like a magical little combination of things that really on paper should not work. But this movie just is so entertaining that it does come together. When they were casting the movie, Helen Hunt was the first choice for originally, but the studio wasn't so sure because she didn't really have like movie star, energy really. And Tom Hanks read for the part of Bill.
Wow. Okay.
I know. Is that weird? Like,
he would have been okay. I think he could have made it work.
Yeah, it would have been an interesting before like Castaway. I guess what was that 3 years after this? So interesting.
Right. So he passed and suggested Bill Paxton. So
because they worked on Apollo 13 together. Is that probably
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. So there was that going on with casting. The actual National Severe Storms Lab, which they show, like not the real version of it, but they show in the movie, actually worked with production. Well, so cool. This is a documentary. Just
sure.
Yeah, and the team at the labs was actually the ones who rejected the original idea of this movie being about a 1.5-day long tornado, and instead we're like, no, that's not how tornadoes work. There could just be multiple storms popping up here, there, and everywhere, and they're like, oh yeah, that's better anyway. So science, we appreciate that. And again, it's a documentary, and Joss Whedon came in for some punch-ups. Ew. But Helen Hunt said that he wrote for Joe and Melissa's interaction was really catty, so she got that changed.
Yeah, you're right. What you're kind of grokking on here. There are some movies, especially when I was growing up with, that I didn't do research for, and that's what this is fun. That's what makes this fun, is actually diving into stuff, which is weird because I like to dive into the histories, and it's strange not good. I know that I just wanted to talk about Jan De Bont really quick. I know that he was because during Speed, we talked Lady Wan, we had a Speed episode. We talked about that. His direction is so good on Speed that it kind of papers over a lot of the inconsistencies or the not believable parts of Speed. That's what really good direction does. And Jan De Bont, that's a movie that I look at as great direction. He just keeps it moving so that you never think about stuff. And I think maybe he overexerted himself with that, because I think Twister's maybe apologize if this is controversial, but it's a step down from Speed direction wise, because there are parts that I do think, wait a minute, or why did they say that? Or my favorite part is later in the movie, they're trying to outrun the farm equipment, and there's literally a part that breaks their windshield with special effects, and then it cuts back and it's completely okay again. I'm like, well, why did you actually add the special effects in there? So there's just a bunch of parts in here. It does move really, really well. That's what I really like still, is the pacing of this. But there are parts where you're like, hold on a second, where Speed, you don't really get that. So, and then after Twister, I think he just really fell off a cliff. I don't think there's been any, I really enjoy Twister. I think it's a lot of fun, and I'm able to forget about, like you said, it's a documentary, so we can forget about a bunch of the bumps and bruises, right? But I just think that after this, he just maybe overexerted himself. I know that he had trouble on set. I know that Don Burgess was the original director of photography, and they just kept running into trouble, and they just kept butting heads. And so finally Burgess just left and was replaced with Jack N. Green. And while Green was arriving on set, De Bont just grabbed the camera and did everything himself. That's the kind of guerrilla kind of filmmaker he is. But yeah, all that stuff aside, they made a good blockbuster summer roller coaster ride, right? So that's kind of how I want to frame this conversation, is that what's important to us, right? I mean, you look at something, this really reminded me this time, since it's written by Michael Crichton, it reminded me of Jurassic Park, where the characterizations in that movie are so I don't want to say thin, but they're just maybe just kind of, Grant just doesn't like kids. That's it, right? And then he gets over it. So it's not really that deep. And I don't think you need that because the rest of Jurassic Park, there's so much going on that it just might exhaust you. But here I think the characterizations, I get it, that you're rooting for this couple. They're on the verge of divorce, and so that's really kind of empathizable and sympathizable. But it's just some of the dialogue. You said something, Lady Wan, about Joss Whedon adding some shrillness, and some of that is here, but that's a relationship, right? I totally buy them as like a butting heads against each other. And so there's direction, there's the spectacle, which this movie has spectacle in spades. The special effects, just groundbreaking, terrific stuff, and we'll come back to that. But Lady Wan, let me ask you, what is important to you in a blockbuster? Do you want a little bit of everything, or do you want something more than something else? And then how do you think Twister kind of slots into that?
I mean, I want an adventure. I want, like, I'm not looking for deep character growth. I'm not looking for like ethos. I don't want to be changed when it's over. I just want to have a really good time. I just want to have fun, and I want it to be a ride. And I feel like they don't really do this anymore. Like all the big movies that are like the big blockbuster movies, they're all Marvel, they're all DC, and like those movies are trying to do something with the story. And I feel like the last one I can really think of was like Top Gun Maverick, where I was just like, this is exciting. And like, it was a ride. It was a ride. And like, that's what I love about, like, especially those 90s blockbusters. Like there's all kinds of plot holes in Independence Day. Don't care. 10 out of 10. Don't care. Like Joe and Bill are absolutely borderline sucked up into a tornado. They go to Meg's house. Joe is completely clean, but is like, I got next on the shower, and then washes her completely clean, dry hair, and then puts on the same outfit again.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Like, what? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, in a way, that's kind of like you can just look away and look back and everything's the same, and you don't have to think, why do they change clothes? I guess that's it.
Why? Like, huh? It's just, it's not important.
Right.
It's not important.
Well, I think with this movie, it moves so fast, and that's kind of the point. You don't want to notice those things, and it's fine. It's weird saying that because it's forgivable to me, stuff like that you're talking about, because it just moves so fast that you don't have time to really, other than like noticing some weird things. You're just on to the next thing before you're ready to really kind of critique it. Johnny, what about you? With a blockbuster, I do want to come back to Top Gun Maverick just for a second, but with a blockbuster, what are you most looking forward to? Because I know, again, talking about Sling Blade, we talked about how we want those independent new film language feelings, and a blockbuster doesn't necessarily do that. And I don't necessarily need a blockbuster to do that. It's like Lady Wan says, I just need to go on a ride and an adventure. What's important to you in a blockbuster, Johnny?
Well, I think you guys are right. It is important that it's kind of like a ride and it's exciting and fun. And I think this movie does that. It's kind of one of those movies where you can like just unplug for a couple hours and just kind of like enjoy it and have fun and like, eat popcorn. That's all really this movie is. But for me, I always want a little bit of everything. I want some good acting, some good, dialogue. I want good direction. I kind of want to have the whole experience. And this one, I think with Jan De Bont coming as a DP, photographer or whatever, I think he doesn't really focus as much on the acting as I would have liked, because I feel like some of the acting is subpar. But like I say, you don't really care because you're having so much fun with the tornadoes and stuff and all the action. But for me, I still want to have some really good, give me some good scenes, give me some good like conflict and acting, and give me something that I can like sink my teeth into, as well as the special effects and the action side of things.
Right. Well, my thing is that I don't expect a blockbuster to be the next Citizen Kane. As long as it gives me a good fun 2 hours, it's great, right? But then you do have stuff like Top Gun Maverick that does have rounded characters, does have themes, does have emotional, resolution. And it's such when you run into those, that's what movies are all about. It's so rich, and it's so like, I can't believe it's this good, right? But I don't expect every movie to do that. It's just, that's what makes a movie like Top Gun Maverick special, is it kind of came out of nowhere and you didn't expect to do that. Twister, again, I was watching it last night, and even though there were points where I was like, I felt myself settle into my critic mode where I started feeling nitpicking everything. And then I was like, but I'm having so much fun. I don't want to do that. Like this, it's fine. Like I get with Jan De Bont and Speed, there's no real call for any great acting in that. It moves so fast that there's no time for meaning. And that's great. That's what makes Speed great. Here, I think with Joe and Bill, having them in a relationship, and there's an emotional kind of pull to that. And I don't think that they concentrate so much on that. It doesn't feel rich. It just feels like something that they put in there to have in there. And so that's maybe a weakness of it, is where you kind of rely on them to do good acting, but the script doesn't really service them that. Again, it's all very complicated. I just think that it's not quite as strong as some of the other elements in here. And again, that's fine here. But I guess the thing with, special effects, what did you, I mean, living in Florida, Lady Wan, what did you think of the actual twisters here? I know that Jan De Bont, and again, even though the dialogue isn't there, he wanted to have the dialogue at least be fast during the fast sequences, so it never dragged it down. So again, the pacing.
Yeah.
But about the tornadoes, what do you think about the way that each of them has like a personality, or how do you feel about the effects in this?
It's a wild approach to be like, the storms have personalities and characters, and Bill knows what they're thinking, but like, it's so fun just because like, it does, like, the storms become the antagonist. They're like this thing that like they're chasing it, but also like it's chasing them. And it is really, really exciting to watch. Like, it's, I don't know, it's the combination of the really good for its, great, amazing for its time, because it still looks pretty good now, CGI, in combination with the practical effects that they were doing on set, where they really are like literally crushing up huge chunks of ice and throwing them off the back of the truck in front of them so that there is hail. They're using like Boeing jet engines so that they can blow crazy amounts of wind at them. Like, it is both together. And I think that that's what sells it so much. That, in combination with the thing that I know from going on the ride a million times, they were actually where tornadoes were hitting, and there were tornadoes hitting during filming, to the point where they had to move it out of Oklahoma and go to Iowa because they kept being interrupted by tornadoes. Like, it was really like in it. They did not film this in California. This is not like on a soundstage. This is Oklahoma. This is Iowa. That's where they filmed all of this. And like that comes across. It makes the CG even better when there is some real kind of, a real landscape is there. They really did destroy parts of old Wakita, like that was already damaged from like previous storms. Like, that's what happens out there. So I think that adds to it significantly.
Well, again, very, very interesting. Even though, again, I'm going to criticize this stuff, but I don't care at the end of the day because it's so fun, right? Even though the dialogue isn't really there and it's kind of shrill and they're maybe not as believable, the fact that I just felt like everything, except for the tornadoes, was practical. I think there's a shot of a teddy bear that hits the truck windshield. That was CGI. I was surprised to learn that's what they said. But everything, like the farming equipment and the houses, everything is practical. The destruction is practical. That's an actual sign that goes to the building when they're at the drive-in, right? But this and the CGI, they keep that because it's monstrous and it's otherworldly. And I just think that that's a great juxtaposition, because you get the real feel, but then this alien kind of quality with the tornadoes. And it's not believable that they add lions roars, to it, but it makes it feel like a monster.
Yes.
What about the cows? Were the cows CGI or were they real?
I think that was a real cow, Johnny. I think they just kind of
that's what I thought. I thought it was real.
And it mooed on cue, I think. But the other thing too that's great is, and again, Lady Wan, this is why we have you on here, so you can point this stuff out. But the fact that it feels like they're in Oklahoma, it doesn't feel like they're in California. It feels like they're actually there. It's an actual sense of place. It's weird talking about Sling Blade right before this and how that has such a gothic kind of real Southern feel to it. And this does too. It never feels like you're on a soundstage. And I think that's just what really sells it. At the end of the day, I don't care if the characterizations aren't as great what would make this a Top Gun Maverick is if they had the characters up to snuff with the rest of it. But I just think that everything, does that make sense? I just think that the CGI is monsters. It makes the tornadoes feel otherworldly and dangerous. The practical stuff feels real, so it grounds it. You do have a relationship that you do buy. I do buy it, even though I don't buy the dialogue a lot of the time. Jonny, is that, Lady Wan, you had, I can still see the wheels turning in your head, but I want to ask Jonny, like, what do you think about any of that, about the real feel of this movie?
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely, it looks real. I mean, the CGI was really well done. Whenever I do see it, I always buy that those tornadoes are there and they're actually experiencing it. So it's definitely believable for me. Yeah, I mean, I like the CGI. I think it's really good.
I really feel like the effects here are groundbreaking. Like they give you something you'd never seen before. Like in the teaser where it says from the people that brought you Jurassic Park and Jaws. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the same kind of feel you get from this. A tornado is just as threatening, but all that stuff we were just talking about, Lady Wan, what thoughts did you have?
Yeah, watching it again with like not a full critic hat on, but like trying to find some issues with it that are there. It just takes me a minute to like take off my rose-colored glasses. Is man, Bill Paxton is flat as can be. Like he's giving nothing. He's giving nothing throughout. He is like, I know your dad died, but that was a long time ago. And it's like, that's Bill. That's actually not a factor. Like her dad died in a tornado. She is chasing tornadoes. This just now occurred to you that she might have some trauma with it, like, and telling her basically to get over it because it's been long enough. Shut up, Bill. But like, he's just not. I don't know. He's not doing it for me. But I really do feel like Helen Hunt is trying. She is like, she is bringing that trauma to this performance where she's like, I can't stop staring at this tornado. I will stare at it no matter what. And like, yeah, that's a weird approach for the character, but it's well established and that's what her thing is. And she is on a personal mission to understand them, to get the Dorothy inside of them, to help people get better tornado warnings. She has a purpose. She has a goal. She has things that she's trying to do outside of this relationship with Bill. Like the be all end all for her is not keeping Bill as her husband. That just kind of happens because he realizes that like, oh, this is where I should have been all this time. She doesn't actually do anything to win him back. She's just being Joe the whole time. And Bill has the realization that actually this is it. Thanks to Melissa, who says, babe, this is over. And I am not even upset about it. So what does that tell you? Like, right. Good for Melissa. But yeah, Bill's just kind of, passenger the whole time on this one. He's not giving much, but yeah, it's, I guess he did his best.
He has a line when they find out, by the way, has Carrie always ever played a good guy after Wesley? Does he always just play bad guys? But where they have that first confrontation where Bill finds out that Jonas has stolen Dorothy, the idea for Dorothy, and they confront each other. And he has a close-up where he goes, Dorothy, you stole her, you damn thief. And he does something with his mouth. And I'm like, can we do that again? Was that the best take that we got? And I just don't know if it's Jan De Bont going, that's good enough. Let's move on. Right. Yeah. And Helen Hunt I think she's great. Like, I think, like you said, Lady Wan, she's really trying. I just don't know if the dialogue is giving her what she needs. Though her breakdown, when she's like, you've never seen it, like you've never seen it past this house, that house, and come straight for you. The way that they're pushing each other, it looks very soap opera-ish. So I don't buy that. I do buy that she's overcome with grief and with trauma, that it is triggering her. And when Aunt Meg, when her house is attacked, and Helen Hunt, Joe is way overprotective. They're even in an ambulance, and I'm so good. And Aunt Meg's like, I'm fine. Like, it doesn't hurt. Like, calm down. Like, go. She doesn't say it like that. She's a lot more kind about it. But I buy that overprotectiveness. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like, you're overdoing it, but that's how you would be. You don't want to lose this other person. You know what I mean? You don't want to lose this. You've already lost so much that you're going to be, even if it's a broken wrist or a sprained wrist, you're still going to be, and I like that it's Meg that says, this is your job. Go do it. I love what really hooks you here is they are trying to do something very noble. It is all about getting the tornado studied so that they can have a bigger warning and not have so many people killed. I like that. It's very honorable kind of thing to follow. So yeah, all of that. I think we're just really rocking on the fact that as long as the energy goes, it's good enough. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm never like wowed by the performances or anything that they do with their acting, but it's enough to get me to the next scene. I think that's what really matters here. John, did you have any thoughts about that?
Well, of the two of them, I think Helen Hunt's performance is the better performance. And I think we've said this before in other episodes, Darin, where if you have a really good performance and then one that's, not so good, the good one makes the not so good one look even worse. So I think that's probably what's going on here, why we kind of rag on Bill Paxton on this one, because Helen's really good. She's in it, and you kind of feel it. But with him, he's kind of phoning it in. Do you know what I mean? So, and I think she upstages him a little bit there.
Or Jan De Bont's really not pushing him to do it.
Yeah, and that's like I said before, he's not a director, he's not an actor. So I think directors who aren't actors don't really direct the acting as well as they should.
Yeah.
I will say, even in Twister Ride It Out, which is like it's Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton in their character outfits, like seemingly on set. So I don't know if this was like literally part of the job as doing the movie, that like, oh, by the way, you're also going to film like some drop-ins for this ride we're going to do,
like how everything is now.
Honestly, probably was part of the gig from the beginning. So they're sitting there on set, and she's like, I'm Helen Hunt, and she like starts talking about it, and he's like, and I'm Bill Paxton. From the day we started filming, tornadoes started hitting north and south of us, and he's giving you garbage in the ride, and like that was the first time I ever saw Bill Paxton, and I was just like, okay, worst actor ever, but in a ride I'm obsessed with. And then like years later I saw Aliens, and I was like, that's the same guy. Are you kidding me? Because he's on 100 in Aliens, and then in this he's nothing.
He's really good in Weird Science. I don't know if you've seen Weird Science.
He's good most of the time.
True Lies. He's so funny in True Lies.
Oh my God, he's so good in True Lies. I saw that like so much longer after, and I was like, I don't understand. Like, was he lobotomized just for the filming of this movie?
Yeah,
he was so flat. He has almost no energy, which is crazy because the way they describe him, they're like, he's the extreme, and he like throws a bottle of Jack into the tornado, and I'm like, I can't see this Bill doing that.
Yeah,
he's so boring.
I forgot his character name was Bill, and so I thought when they kept calling him Bill, they were all breaking character. It's like, why do they keep calling him Bill?
Yeah, it's just Bill.
Maybe that's the other problem too. He does have flashes. He's very charismatic. I'm sure none of us mean to rag on Bill Paxton, because we all really, we like Bill Paxton, right? Yeah. Maybe he's just good, maybe not in. He's really good in A Simple Plan, so I don't want to say he's not good in a lead role. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the attitude or the direction, anything like that. He does have moments. Yeah. I like the part where they're at the table though, and Melissa's like, and by the way, it's great having Melissa there to be the audience surrogate, so she can ask all these questions. We have no idea what's going on. Very smart screenplay wise, even though her character isn't really a character so much. But when they're at the table and she's like looking at him, and he goes, well, honey, this is all misconstrued. Like, you got to understand, there was another Bill, an evil Bill, and I killed him. Like, I think that's very good.
That is a good part.
So he does have moments, and he does have the star power and the magnet. It's just, you're right, he's completely flat. Somebody who does not give a flat performance is Philip Seymour Hoffman. And
Dusty,
it is crazy. Oh. I was, anytime I see this movie, or maybe Along Came Polly, and I see him in that, I'm like, how is this guy? How did he become one of our generation's greatest actors?
I know.
And I think maybe it's because he just gives 1,000% every time, whether it's this, or whether it's Capote, whether it's Mission Impossible 3, or whether it's, for crying out loud, Catching Fire. I love a fun, like, frisky Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's so fun. But I know, R.I.P. obviously Bill Paxton, R.I.P. Philip Seymour Hoffman. I miss that guy so much. But what about Phil here as Dusty, Lady Wan?
I love Dusty. Like, this movie is about Joe, but Dusty is the most entertaining person in this film. He's so good. Honestly, the whole little ragtag group of storm chasers are fantastic. Like, they just have so many good, like, little throwaway lines of like, rabbit is good, rabbit is wise. Like, I don't know why they're in there. I feel like they probably just started ad-libbing some weird little stuff, because it doesn't really go with the rest of what's happening. It's all pretty like scientific at points, but Philip Seymour Hoffman is just so funny and weird as Dusty, and he's he is like, he's perfect in it. He's joyful about all of this stuff. And like, oh, it's so good. I love it. I love his performance.
Well, it's still a supporting performance, so it's funny that we're really concentrating on this. But yeah, we might as well because he's great. Jonny, I don't think I've ever asked you about Philip Seymour Hoffman. What do you think about him as an actor, and how do you think he is in this movie?
Yeah, as an actor, I love him. I think he's great, super talented. My favorite performance he's ever done, I think, is Talented Mr. Ripley. I love him in that movie.
He's
And I
such
say
a
that
prick.
because I hated him when I first saw it. I
Yeah.
hated that character so much. And then I read the book and then I watched it again and I was like, oh man, he was perfect. Like he was so good. Because, you know, when you read the book, that's how he just is. He is Freddy. And he's so good at that character. Anyway, I think he's funny in this. I think he could have been funnier if there's more, you know, funny quips that he could have said. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that could have been done to make his character even more memorable, even more, you know, because he is funny. He's comic relief, obviously, but I think this could have been more. And I wanted more of that. So that's why I think there could have been more of it.
I'm not sure if it's true or not because it's on the IMDb trivia, but it said that Jan De Bont was shooting for an R rating for this, so there was a lot of extra F words and swearing and some brutal, more. I can't imagine a death being more brutal than Eddie's death in this, like being impaled by that, whatever it is, that tower. But there was more violence, and it says that they had to cut scenes with Carrie Elways and Philip Seymour Hoffman. So maybe that's what's missing, John. They cut out those scenes.
Maybe, yeah.
My thing with him is he's such a goofball, and I think maybe he wouldn't have been able to do this part if it was later in his career. I think it was good enough that it was early enough to make an impression. But he is a goofball, and he is sort of annoying and a little bit too much. But then he also has parts like, again, when they find Aunt Meg and Joe is in the ambulance with her, and all of a sudden you get Dusty like, I'm sorry, like the radio says, and you can feel, even though he's a goofball, that he really doesn't want to interrupt this, but he knows that they have a job to do, and it's very sincere. And it's more sincere than anything Bill Paxton does. I feel bad saying that, but again, that's just how it is, right? I just, anytime I see Hoffman here, I just, or and anywhere, I just miss him so much and think, what could he have given us that we don't have? And it's funny thinking about that, watching him in this. But anyway, so
hang on real quick, Darren.
Yeah.
I have a theory about Alan Ruck's character, Rabbit.
Yeah, who Cameron?
I think Cameron got out of bed, had that one day, and then he went to LA to sightsee, had the whole speed experience, and was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Oklahoma and kind of chillax for a minute. And then like the twister happened, and I was like, Cameron, go back to bed, man. Like just get back in bed.
Okay, that's a good theory. Sure, why not? Yeah, I think, like I said, the direction is good enough that it keeps it well paced. I like that there's a history with everybody, and they really play that off. Like Meg really misses Bill. Bill shows up, and he automatically, like when he's in a close up, Bill Paxton doesn't have like a lot of a pull, but when he's goofing off with the rest of the people, I think it's very fun. You can tell that's hard to do, right? Like it's hard to really sell chemistry if you don't have it. And I think they did really have a lot of fun with each other. But Jonny, I texted you because they had a bunch of Van Halen in here. And I was like, Jonny, I never asked you, are you a fan of Van Halen? And you said yes. And basically I asked you to do some research on how this was basically the movie. This was the incident that tore Van Halen apart.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that actually. And then you're looking up. Yeah, they had some conflicts about the song that got put in the soundtrack, the Humans Being song. I guess Alex and Eddie wanted to be more about like just the life experience, what it's like to be human. And then, you know, what's his name? Sammy Hagar. He wanted to make it more about, you know, climate change and global warming and stuff. And so that whole conflict kind of was like, that's not what broke everything up, but that was, you know, part of it. There's lots of conflicting ideas of how where the band should go, what the music should be doing. And so they broke up and, yeah, this is the last song they wrote together was this Humans Being, and that was in the soundtrack. And there's another like instrumental song that Alex and Eddie wrote that's also in the soundtrack, and it's called like something The Wind.
Ride the Wind, I think.
Ride the Wind, yeah.
And that was completed like 3 days before they locked the movie.
But I like this song that got put in it, the Humans Being. I didn't know it was called that. I thought it was called Shine On, because it goes shine. So I thought it was it. But anyway, yeah, I was a big fan of Van Halen. I was sad to see Eddie Van Halen pass away. I only have one album, that's the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. But I do like a lot of their music. And then I'm a huge Extreme fan. And so when Gary Cherone took over for Sammy Hagar and did Van Halen 3, like I didn't go out and buy it, but I did listen to the whole thing. And being an Extreme fan, it's kind of like mixing Extreme with Van Halen. So it kind of, I don't know if it worked very well, but it wasn't really a big success. but it's okay. I mean, I love Gary Sharon's voice, but I just don't think maybe it fits so well with the Van Halen sound, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
But
well, what
yeah.
about Sammy Hagar? Like, what do
I think
you're
Sammy
kind of
Hagar is
viral?
actually the best. I don't like
Okay.
David Lee Roth as much. Sammy
Okay.
Hagar for me is Van Halen. Like that's what because that's the era I grew up with them. David Lee Roth, yeah, in the '80s I kind of caught the tail end of it, but Sammy Hagar was Van Halen for me, like
Okay.
for a long time. And so having him leave, and I was excited for Gary Sharon because, like I said, I'm a huge Extreme fan. I was excited for that, but like I said, it didn't kind of work
Didn't
out the
kind
way
of
I
work.
wanted it to.
Okay. Any thoughts on the music, Lady One?
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with the score.
Mark
Just
Mancina.
like
Yeah.
oh, it's so good. It's epic. It it builds. It's so exciting. Obviously, it's all over the ride. Like when you did the ride at Universal, it's like playing throughout. Like you're in a room on a soundstage and like a twister is happening in front of you and they're like blasting the score and they just like rain and wind and it's all very exciting. Um, but yeah, I think his score for this is awesome. Um, I had to go look it up because I'm listening to it. I was like, is this Hans Zimmer? Like, who is it?
Mm.
He's a Hans
Yep.
Zimmer school of composing guy.
She
So I
is.
was like, I feel it. I feel it. But yeah, I love this. I think he like really is a huge part of the intensity and the excitement and the tension that builds throughout this movie is the score.
Yeah, I think the thing with Zimmer scores is they're very propulsive and a lot of his guys are the same. It really drives the movie and pushes it forward.
Yeah.
And you don't really
Yeah.
notice that in a lot of other movies, but they make you notice it here. So
Yeah.
I did want to kind of close out with a kind of a heavier topic. But before we do that, since this is our bucket list season, I just wanted to go over just a couple of things that I do absolutely need to get on the record. And then Lady Wan and Johnny, you can do the same thing. So gather your thoughts
Okay.
while I'm doing this. But just some things that I really like. I like, and again, I'm going through my notes. Number one, I had all these notes and I was commenting on everything. But halfway through this conversation, I'm like, I don't think it's really necessary to go through plot point by plot point because it's really all the same thing. It's just really fun, right? So there's no point. But like I said, I do like that Melissa is the outside of the audience surrogate. I like that her hair is dark where Joe's is blonde. So there's a good kind of difference there. So it's not like the same. Let's see some more of this. The talking about the suck zone. I like seeing a lot of the twisters, like when there's the sisters. I thought that was really cool. It's really neat, like seeing things that you didn't expect to see. I like that they don't shy away from the Wizard of Oz references. I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
Like, dive into that, right? I like that the climax. First of all, I love that Jonas's death is played with no music. And it's funny because you mentioned the score and how it drives things, but then when they take the music out, you notice that even more and how grave and serious it is. I thought that was great. But I do like how the climax is kind of like three-tiered because you have Dorothy 3 and then it gets wrecked, and then you have them with the semi, which says Benthic Exploration, I think, on the tanker, which is the same company from T2 and the Abyss.
Ooh.
And so they tie that together in a way. But so you have
Nice.
Dorothy 3, and then they do the thing where they have Jonas's death. And I love the part where Joe and Bill realize that they're right there. Jonas's team is right there. They can actually do this. Let's get on the CB. Let's tell them what to do. And of course, it's Jonas's, like, his pompousness, that's hubris that doesn't let it happen and he gets killed. But I like that moment of selflessness between them where they're like, this has got to happen. They're not above. It's not about the rivalry. It's about making sure that this happens. So I really like that a lot. Again, there's a lot of like little details in here we could go over, the personalities of the twisters, all of that. I just think that it gives you a ride, and I like the kind of the niche feel of seeing what these storm chasers do. You want something that you've never experienced in a movie before, and I think this does a good job of giving you the components of what it's like to live this life. But again, it's not a perfect movie, but blockbusters don't have to be perfect. They just had to be a fun ride, and I think this does well. Lady One, was there any like particular things you wanted to mention just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I want to have a moment of appreciation for the entire steak and eggs sequence in Aunt Meg's house because first of all, it looks delicious.
It does.
Those steaks are so big and those eggs look so like, oh my God, it looks amazing. So it immediately makes me hungry. Like my mouth is watering thinking
every
about
time. Every time. Yep.
It's so, but it feels like these people have known each other forever and they're like, gathering around having this meal that they've gone to get steak and eggs from Aunt Meg a million times. But the some of the phrases that happen in that sequence, they use the phrase imminent ruage. that's fantastic. And then Bill says, a tissue of lies. And I don't know what that phrase means, but my ex actually used to say it all the time. He'd be like, it's a tissue of lies. And I was like, what does this mean? So I love that whole sequence. It's a nice little like, let's refuel before the next storm hits. And it's funny, but it also does tell you it's funny and light, but there is also character development. You can see how uncomfortable Melissa is as they're like slopping gravy in front of her, and she's so fish out of water in this scenario where everybody is at home with each other, everybody is family, and she's this odd one out in her nice little white suit, just watching as huge pieces of steak are just dropped in front of her, and she could not be more uncomfortable in a scenario that is supposed to be just nothing but comfort. These are supposed to be people who love each other sharing a meal, and she just does not want to be there. So it does actually serve the story as well as give us a phrase, imminent brewage. So I love it. I love that scene.
Okay. Anything else? Any other cool parts?
Oh my, like just so many of the lines, but I'll hold on that because there's just so many good ones.
Okay.
So, yeah, I love it.
I think I just decided that at the end, I'm going to quote my favorite Carrie Elway's quote in here, which I say to people all the time anyway, we'll get back to that. But Jonny, did you have any final like cool things you want to mention about this movie?
I do love the steak and egg scenes. That's one of the best scenes. I love the moment where she's like, what's an F5 like? And everybody just goes silent. Like, how dare you say F5? Like, oh my gosh. Like, it's just kind of,
you said the F word.
I love that moment.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been one. There never will be one, whatever. Yeah. So I like that moment. That's a good scene. So I like the fact that we talked about a little bit how the tornadoes are a character, and I love how you feel like they are like the zombie in the zombie movie, or they're like the villain in the whatever. They are the monster, and I love that you actually feel like they're a real character in the movie, and I think that's what makes it for me is the tornadoes being a character.
Okay, perfect. So maybe we'll come back and maybe do some more final thoughts, but I do want to kind of talk about the state of blockbusters today. Again, Twister is nothing deep. There's nothing, like you don't walk out a different person. You've just walked out thinking that was a great ride and I'm scared of tornadoes, right? Mission accomplished. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. Watching Twisters recently, which I fell asleep during, and my wife had to wake me up. I don't usually do that. We watched it at home. I just think there's something so, and again, like I said, there's the characters in here are two-dimensional at best, but the same thing is with Twisters. I don't think there's a difference in story and acting quality in the sequel. I just thought that it was so boring and it was so dull, and I didn't buy that they were how I bought that the tornadoes were real characters, real like monsters and a threat. I didn't feel that at all from Twisters. I just felt like it was just special effects, and it didn't feel like they were in the places they were like. It didn't feel like they were in Oklahoma. It felt like they were on a set the whole time. I know that Glenn Powell is charismatic as crazy. Daisy Edgar Jones is great. Anthony Ramos is great, but I don't get anything from them. They don't even kiss at the end of the movie. Like that's how non-committal the whole movie is. And I don't know. First of all, Lady Wan,
she's non-committal to that Southern accent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It comes and goes wildly. Yeah, I'm like, why did you have to cast her? Like, she's absolutely the wrong person for that movie.
Well, we'll come back to that. But what else about Twisters? You said you saw it once and you didn't need to see it again. But what is your opinion on it?
Yeah, I mean, I went to see it in the theater because I was like, well, I got to find out what this is about. And, who doesn't love Glenn Powell's face? So I was there for that. But I thought I feel like they really did try to hit the formula of the original, and including like, let's start with a traumatic death. And you're like, oh, I wasn't really ready for her losing all of her friends in the kind of the opening of it is like, and now she has trauma. So you guys got that, right? She's just like Joe, except for Joe lost her dad when she was a kid. Daisy Edgar Jones lost all of her friends and her crew. Like it just, I don't know. It just felt like trying to do the exact same thing. And if that's what you're doing, then why aren't you trying to do something different with it? Like what, like that, the thing I think I probably liked the most about it was what they did with Glenn Powell's character, which is like, he's all just about the money and like rich people pay to ride with him and get this experience because that is your antagonist now, is somebody who's just doing something for the money, the clout, the experience, versus Jonas as the antagonist. I mean, Glenn Powell's obviously not the antagonist as it plays out, but that's how they set him up. But Jonas is the antagonist because he's stealing their ideas. Like he's, that's the threat, is your rival stealing your stuff. And he's like this cowboy out there, and you're supposed to be like, ugh, really, this guy? But that's actually the most interesting thing about the whole movie, is because Daisy Edgar Jones is just like a less interesting, less well acted version of Joe. And I really don't feel like Anthony Ramos got to actually do anything. So
he's vanilla. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just kind of there. Like, good for him. I'm glad he got a check.
Right. Glad everybody got checks. So, Johnny, did you see Twisters, or did you bother with Twisters?
I watched it once. Yeah. It was forgettable.
Yeah.
It's like you said, Lady Wan, you're just doing the same thing. And with these two characters behind me, if you take away what they give, there's nothing. So if you're a lesser version of Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, there's nothing. You know what I mean? There's nothing that you're giving. Yeah. And it's just, it's an A to B to C. You can just sense all the pieces coming, other than losing all her friends instead of one person. And I just was completely bored by it. And I just think that that's really the state. You talked about this in the beginning here, Lady Wan. That's the state of blockbusters today. It's not quite up to snuff with these 90s movies, or even early 2000s movies, where you had the Pirates of the Caribbean, at least, that were coming out being something. You know what I mean? And now they're just all these bland, unless it's a Top Gun Maverick, they're all just these bland, nothing movies, because that's what audiences want. I know that we're under threat of AI, but watching all these blockbusters, it's so dull. I'm like, yeah, all these people are going to fall, you fall head and shoulders for this AI crap. They're just going to fall for it, because we're already falling for it. It's just they're doing it with real people now. Lady Wan, did you have any thoughts on on what I just said, that the state of blockbusters today, when the last great blockbuster was, besides, again, Top Gun Maverick's going to keep coming up because that's like the exemplar, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, everything. It is so rare to see a movie that is any kind of original concept, which, like, like, the template for this movie is not the most original thing in the world, but it was a new approach. It was, let's do the monster movie, but the monster is a storm. Like, weather was a whole thing in the 90s. Like, we had like Dante's Peak. Like, we had some natural threats, and like that. I love a disaster movie. So I appreciate that kind of stuff, but I just don't feel like we get anything that stands on its own anymore. Everything is part of a universe, or a reboot of something that you've already seen. And, that's why I love, like, this movie so much, is like, it was just its own weird little thing. Like, it's just, yeah. I feel like that the independence of it all is the important part. And I know, obviously, Top Gun Maverick is like a sequel, but it's a sequel so far later that, like, it's standing on its own. Like, it is doing everything it needs to do on its own. And it's just refreshing to have some kind of original content like this was back then.
Right. Well, even in the Marvel universe, I long for, Sam Raimi doing a movie in there where even if the story isn't great, there's still some style and some richness to the way that the movie's presented. And yeah, like I said, Multiverse of Madness isn't the greatest movie, but I latched onto that stuff so hard because it's so hard to get personality in blockbusters today.
Yes.
The Russos should not be the leading example of a blockbuster filmmaker, because they don't bring anything. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, you want an experience. You want, like, building intensity and excitement, and then crazy set pieces. Like, that's what you want to happen. And it doesn't have to be part of, the latest installment in this series. Like, I feel like it's a thing that doesn't really happen anymore. And I think it's probably partially like the studio's fault, that they don't want to take a risk on a big idea that's going to be expensive, because you got to spend money on a blockbuster. You got to make it big. So they don't want to have somebody spend money on some original idea. Yeah. He's the only one who gets to do it. And, he thinks he's smarter than blockbusters, which is debatable.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, why would I give you $100 million to make a movie based on an idea one person has? Like, no, this needs to be unproven IP. Otherwise, we're not going to do it. And it's just, yeah, it's I miss the 90s.
Yeah, you don't get that kind of adventurous spirit anymore. I know we're talking about this. Scream 7, I think, opens tomorrow, and I just can't muster any excitement for it because 4 and 5 were just the same thing. I'm like, I barely have time to watch movies that I want to see. Why am I watching a movie that's just going to rehash the same exact thing that I've gotten 3 or 4 times before? I'm sorry, guys. I don't have time for this, right? I've got to do something. Johnny, what about you? Any thoughts on the state of blockbusters or anything like that?
Well, I don't go out and see them anymore. So that's where I'm at. I just don't care anymore. I look forward to the movies like Begonia or like, just the ones that are kind of like Marty Supreme. I haven't seen it yet, but I can't wait to see it. Yeah, so I'm more into the independent, the more like original thought idea than the blockbusters. I just don't care anymore.
Even if you don't like the movie, even if you don't like the characters in the movie, we talked about this later on with Sling Blade. It's like, at least we're getting a voice. At least this is different. Even if I walk away from the movie thinking I hated that, at least it's something we haven't experienced before. I'd rather despise a movie than go to see a movie and walk out like of Twisters and go, I could have been doing anything else the last 2 hours and my life wouldn't have changed. So again, I don't mean this to go fully deep, but do you have any final thoughts on that, Lady Wan, and any final thoughts on as applies to Twister?
Yeah. I mean, overall, for when it comes to the decisions on what movies I'm going to watch, whether it's in the theater or on streaming, like, I am genuinely looking for something that is interesting and different. That's a new take on an old idea is good enough for me. As far as, like, I'm not asking you to come up with a completely original, brand new story. I'm going to go see The Bride. Like, I'm going to go see somebody else's approach to a Bride of Frankenstein story. Sure, I'm in for it because it looks interesting and stylistic, and there's a point of view there. That's what I'm looking to go see, because I know that, like, these big blockbuster movies, like, I watched the latest Jurassic Park movie on my TV because I knew it wasn't going to be that good and it wasn't worth sitting in a movie theater for. And like, because they just don't deliver the way 90s and early 2000s blockbusters did. So
yeah, right.
It's just not the same anymore.
I see a lot of YouTubers comment on, oh, it's such a 90s movie. And I don't understand what that means other than, oh, so you mean it's good? Like, it's a good movie? Right. Is that what you're talking about? So I guess my final thought on Twister, and it took talking to the two of you. This is what I love about conversations like this, is I finally put a lid on it. It's like, it's good enough. Johnny, it's like, I can turn off my brain for 2 hours and I don't mind. It's fun. Like, and you walk out like, oh, that was a ride. What's to eat? Like, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that, as long as it's not insulting. And there are things we can complain about, but it's a good ride at the end of the day. Johnny, did you have any final thoughts on Twister?
No, I think we covered what I think.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, just this, I mean, I've been trying to draw out this conversation because I don't want to say goodbye to our guest here, but let us know, Lady Wan, what are your plans? I know that we talked about, like, it's hard to edit. We all, boy, do I feel that. And trying to get like a topic. I just really miss having you and Chris out there and your relationship. And yeah, Chris has like first run and everything, but the way that you, the brother and sister dynamic that you have, I've told you this many times before. It's so fun and it's so rewarding to listen to. And I miss it. And so, yeah, if you can really get back to it. I don't want to push you, but like, there are people out there that do enjoy your conversations. How can we get a hold of you? Like, what are your plans for the future? Just let us know about, just about you, just to end off.
I, like, my movie going life lives on Letterboxd. I log every single movie I watch, even if I'm watching a movie for the 5th time again. So follow me there and like comment on my stuff and tell me to follow you back. I'll follow you back. I love reading people's reviews. Like, I will, if I'm watching a movie, whether it's a brand new movie that I just saw in the theaters, or if it's just something I randomly stumbled upon on streaming and I'm watching it years after it came out, I love like going on a deep dive through Letterboxd and reading people's reviews and seeing the really funny ones, the really introspective ones. It's such a good time. It's a little way to have some movie community when you're like the one weirdo who goes to the movies all the time out of all your friends. So yeah, I love it. Letterboxd, and I'm the Lady Wan on Letterboxd, so you can find me there.
Okay, thank you so much. I've treasured our relationship from Johnny. The first thing that she ever tweeted that made me fall in love with her is we were going to compete on Jason's podcast. And there was a question that I answered about, I think it was maybe like cream cheese on a raisin bagel. And like you tweeted back, like, this is the guy I'm going against. This is the guy. And I was like, that killed me. And I was like, I love this woman already. It was a way to, because competitions are always so like nerve wracking, that completely eliminated. Well, not completely, maybe 70% it eliminated my stress. And then before we met up, and I think we were DMing each other, and I was like, are you ready? And you said no. And I was like, oh, that's the other 30%. I just was not nervous. So that's what I've never told you that. That's what I've always appreciated about you. And I just love, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you deciding to say yes and yes. join us to chat about this movie. I've missed chatting with you and miss hearing your voice and all that. Yeah. So thank you for joining us. But yes. Again, to trying to draw out this conversation as long as possible. We want to have you obviously back on again at some point in the future. Yeah. So keep this in mind. Maybe we'll talk about Independence Day next time. But all right. So that's 1996. That's our retrospective from 96. We're going to move on to the next year. And I'm looking for, I can't even remember what movies I'm going to cover. So I'll have to look at my list again. But we'll be back with another episode of NostalgiaCast. Lady Wan, again, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you. But until next time, I'm Darin Lundberg.
And I'm Johnny Craddock.
And if I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
It was windy.
I gotta go, Julia. We got cows.
Catch you next time, guys.